Hi guys, Porfex here. Alright, so I have a PvP build for you to show you today. And it's one I've been working on, and it's one that's a little bit more difficult to run. When you get it down, it is very, very rewarding. Now, the build that I'm showing you right now is a solo or a ganking PvP build. I will, the next couple days, show you a group PvP build, but this is just solo, super high damage with decent sustain, and it pretty much wrecks face. Alright, so my front bar is going to be a destruction staff, and here's what the bar looks like. I'm using Inner Light, which is the first ability here in the Mage's Guild. Since we're already here, I'll show you Shooting Star, which is my ultimate. Most of you guys know this by now if you've watched some of my builds. I really love this ability. If you're just PvPing, you might want to go with Ice Comet. Ice Comet is better for one-on-ones and 1v2s and that kind of thing. I like Shooting Star because in group play, plus in PvE, Shooting Star is way better because it gives you ultimate back for each person you hit. Alright? And then, those of you who don't know, Inner Light is going to grant you 10% spell critical. It's going to give you 7% max magicka with this passive right here. And Shooting Star will also give you magic. And it's going to give me 2% magicka recovery for each one, so 4% total between these two. Alright, my next ability is going to be Crushing Shock. This is going to be your main damaging ability. It's going to be the ability that you keep pressure on your opponents so that when time comes and your Crystal Frag finally procs, you're going to blast them with one of those. Alright, since I already mentioned it, we'll go to my first ability that I have on the bar, Crystal Fragments. Now, you want to make sure you morph it to Crystal Fragments because this build is solely based on this ability pretty much by itself. That is the reason why I made this build, is because of that ability right there. It is a nuke. There is not another class ability in the game that hits as hard as Crystal Frags. There's not one. The only closest one is Surprise Attack from the Nightblade, and this hits harder. I've hit people for 17,000 with this ability. Alright? It's a nuke. But, word to the wise, only cast it when it procs. You will notice the proc where if you have the add-on Sorc Helper, it will tell you. Combat Cloud and FTC will tell you. It'll say Crystal Fragments. Or your arms will go blue. Alright? That's how you know when it's ready to cast. You hit it once, it's going to deal 20% more damage, and it's going to cost 50% less magic. It is a single target nuke. Alright? And while you're blasting them with your Crushing Shock, you'll be keeping up these two buffs right here. Hardened Ward, it's going to be your only shield or healing ability that you're going to run on this. And this is why this build is kind of hard to run. Alright? Hardened Ward is the best shield in the game. No one can convince me otherwise. Best shield in the game. Covers almost your entire health bar, and it costs 1800 magic. What more can you say? And your globe can absorb 33% more damage. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And you're going to keep up Power Surge. Now, I chose this one over Entropy because this one heals you, and it's going to give you a 2% spell damage bonus due to this passive right here. Increase your spell power by 2% for each Sorcerer ability slotted. You could put the Mage's Guild ability there. It costs less. But this one I like better just because it heals you, it lasts a hair longer, and it gives you a 2% spell power bonus. Alright? Then we're going to go to my back bar. Now this is going to be where this build gets a little tricky. Dual Wield. Some of you are like, what? I know, I'll explain. Well, I have Inner Light here. We have Overload. Oop, that was already on there. Energy Overload. It's a toggle ability, and you can pelt people that'll almost kill them just by hitting them with one. If they're not ready for it and you just hit them 2 or 3 times with this ability, they're pretty much going to die. I mean, this ability is fantastic. People have been talking about getting it nerfed in PvP because it is that good. Alright, and it's also going to give you your magicka back. What more can you say? Alright, Streak, this is your one getaway ability. Once you get this down enough, you can also use it as a stun. If a DK or something gets right in your face, you streak away, stun them, turn around, and hit them with, let's say, Velocious Curse, or Crystal Frags, which we'll get to why it's on both bars here in a second. Alright, Velocious Curse is a Daedric summoning ability right here. And it's going to curse the enemy with a destructive rune, dealing 7,932 magic damage, unbuffed, to target enemy after 3.5 seconds, and 3,651 magic damage to all nearby enemies. And you can only put one curse on at a time, but that's okay. This ability is fantastic. It goes through block, it goes through dodge rolls, it's not reflected by Dragon Knights. So this is your ability. It's an instant cast. Now I know it takes 3.5 seconds, but you can also hit it on those people that like to mistform. You throw that on them. Nightblades that want to sneak, throw that on them. It's a great utility ability, plus it does a lot of damage. Alright? And then your execution will be Endless Fury. Gives you magic back when you kill somebody with it. Does a ton of damage under 20%. Ranged. What more do you need to say? Now, I don't advise it, but you can use this ability to proc Crystal Frags. Now, you guys might be wondering, why would you have a single target damaging ability on both bars? Alright, here's how this build works. You're going to stay on this bar right here most of the time. Alright, you're going to Hardened Ward, you're going to Power Surge, and you're going to start hitting them with Crushing Shock. Your indication is going to come up, whoop, Crystal Frag is ready to go. You're not going to hit them with this Crystal Frag right here. You're going to switch to your back bar, and you're going to hit them with this Crystal Frag, and then you're going to Velocious Curse them. And if you think that you can kill him, or that Velocious Curse is going to take him under 20%, you hit him a few times with Mage's Fury, he's going to die. If not, it is very crucial that you switch back to this bar. This is the very most important thing I can tell you about this build. You want to make sure that you are very comfortable with switching bars, because you're going to be doing a lot. I have died many of times because I thought, well, I'm just going to stay on this bar right here. I'm going to hit him with some Endless Furies. I'm going to streak. I'm going to curse him, and I'm just going to let that frag just continue proc. It will not work. You will just get destroyed. Now, it will work on some enemies. If I learn how to talk, it might be better. It will work on some enemies. But if there are multiple enemies, they're just going to burst you down. If you are not keeping up this shield and not keeping up your Power Surge, they are just going to burst you down. That's it. It's just going to happen. You don't have enough resistances to most things that they're not going to do it. So it is very, very crucial to not be on this back bar unless you're escaping with Streak, or you're casting a few quick abilities and then switching back to make sure you stay alive, because staying alive is the most important thing. Alright, now let's talk about why I went dual wield. Alright, I'm going to show you. As you can see, I have a blue and a purple sword. I don't even have enchants on them, because that's my bad. But just so you know, on your enchants, if you're a sorcerer, you can always put shock. Shock is just your go-to enchant. Put shock on as a sorcerer, you're fine. It's just the disintegration proc that you get for being a sorcerer is huge. So just put shock on it. Alright, this is a legendary Torag's Pack Staff versus purple and blue swords. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and buff myself so you can see the full extent. My spell damage on this bar is 2,233. Alright. Make sure it stays up. 2,762. Look at the spell damage bonus that you get from having two swords. Why, you might ask? Alright, is because of the way Elder Scrolls built this game is that you no longer have weapon damage and spell damage on your weapons. It's just damage. So by equipping these 2 swords, it's giving me what, almost 2200 damage between these 2 swords. This one only gives me 1144. Now, I'm still not 100% sure why you don't get what that is, 1144 to 2200. So it should be technically at least 1,000 higher. I'm not exactly sure on the reason why it's not 1,000 higher. Maybe you guys can leave me a comment and tell me exactly why it's not 1,000 higher. But it gives you significantly more. I mean, look at that. That's blue and purple versus legendary. It's a huge difference. Alright? Now, if you have it leveled up to 50, your dual wield, you're going to want to put 2 points into this. Twin Blade and Blunt. Alright? If you look down at the second to last one, it says each sword increases your damage of your weapon attacks by 2.5%. Now, right now, it gives your attacks 5% more damage. I believe it's a bug, but it is, at this point, very well known. So, if it's not a bug, it is intended. The two-handed, I think it's... Sorry, let me find it here. Two-handed swords deals 3% extra damage, it's actually 5. That works as well. But dual wield gives you more spell damage than the two-hander. That is the reason why we go dual wield over two-hander, and you get an extra weapon spot. Or crafted spot. Because you're running 2 weapons. You can run a two-hander, but if you run dual wield, it actually gives you more spell damage. So that is the reason why we're running dual wield. Just to show you exactly how big of a bonus it can be. Alright. First frags in this bar, 8,683. 9,922. That's a lot. Now, if you don't think it's worth it, now, and that bumps up all these abilities. You know, my curse now hits for 8,553. If you personally don't think it's worth it, now, like I said, this is purple and blue and not even legendary yet, because they will be, trust me. You can run maybe a restoration staff and put healing word on this bar. That is perfectly fine. But if you want to go straight high burst, this is what I suggest. Alright, now one last thing, I'm going to talk about this, and then I'll show you my gear, and champion points, and attribute points. Alright, see this says 9,921? Watch what happens. And my Mage's Guild ability, 12,000. You're going, what? Why, you might ask? If you have your Mage's Guild leveled all the way up, which you have to have for Shooting Star, 2 points into this, casting a Mage's Guild ability grants you empowered increase in the damage of your next attack by 20% within 5 seconds. So if you're ganking, this is why I say this could be a ganking build, and I have. I've killed people before they ever got off their horse. You hit Power Surge, you toggle your inner light off and on, and once you do that, you cast a Crystal Frags, and it's going to deal, well, like you said, base 12,000 damage. Alright, now I'll show you my gear. You might have caught a glimpse of it. Obviously I'm running Torix Pact, and I'm running 2 weapons, and I only have 1 Torix Pact when I switch to my staff, so I actually don't have as much spell damage as well, which is part of the reason why there's a big difference, but it's still a lot more for running swords than it is running a Destra Staff. Alright, 2 pieces of Cyrodiil's Light. If you guys remember in a previous video, I showed you cost-efficient way, instead if you don't have to do Cyrodiil's Light. I forget offhand what the skill's name was, but if you go check my Sorcerer build, Master Lightning, or I'm sorry, Lightning Master, I'm dyslexic, it shows you what you can substitute those for. And they're very cheap. They don't give you quite as much spell damage, but they still give you spell damage. I'm running 5 pieces of Archmage, which is very, very expensive But to do exactly what I'm doing, Archmage, I don't want to say is a must, but is very, very helpful. Now, if you don't want to run Archmage, you have a couple different ways you can go about this. All right, and the last set we'll just go ahead and do. I'm doing 3 pieces of martial knowledge. If you don't have the money to put in for Archmage, what I suggest you do is run 5-piece Seducer. So let's say these are 5 pieces Seducer. All right, and then run Adroitness. 2 pieces of Adroitness right here because the neck is also like 70,000. So if you want to go a budget build, you can do. I mean, there's multiple ways you can do this, but go 5-piece Seducer for the cost reduction. You're not going to get the spell damage, and go either 2-piece Adroitness right here, or you can go 4-piece Torag's Pact. It's going to give you max health and weapon damage, which it's just going to give you then the spell damage on this bar, plus it's going to give you extra health. So that's a cost-efficient way to do it. Personally, I would probably go 5-piece Seducer and 3-piece Torags, and then a 4th piece right here. Or if you have the money, which, I mean, we're trying to do cost-efficient, you can go 2-piece Torags right here, so it'd be 3 on this bar, 2 on this bar, and then Adroitness with 5-piece Seducer. There's many ways you can go. This is by far, I think, the best, the way I have it right now. 5-piece Archmage, 3-piece Martial, and 2-piece Torags. But that's a little bit of cost efficient if you don't want to have to go out and spend the amount of money it's going to take for this build. Alright, attribute points, all into magic. I mean, there's not much more I can say about it. My magic with Inner Light on is 33,876 in this bar, and 34,450 on this bar. So I don't run out of magic very often. I'm running the Mage Mundus Stone. I'm not a vampire. And I run the Tri-Food because stamina is very important. We'll go over the champion points very quick. There's only 3 points I put into the green trees. Magician, reduce the cost of magic spells. Arcanist, increase magic recovery. And Tumbling, which all my points next will be going into Tumbling. Reduce the stamina cost of roll dodge and break free because you will be roll dodging and breaking free. And it's a very great passive for PvP. Alright, now for the the blue tree, I have 5 points in Elfborn, so it's going to increase my criticals by 5%, which I don't really care about the healing because I don't heal myself, except for with Power Surge, so it does heal me extra with that. Increase your Flame, Frost, and Shock damage because that's going to help my Crushing Shock out. This Spell Erosion, it's going to increase my amount of spell resistance your spells ignore. Great for PvP. Great, especially with all the Nirn honed. It's really big. Now, one thing you want to know is you want to put 30 points into this tree before you put any points anywhere else, because you need this ability right here. Increase your spell critical by 12%. That is a very, very big passive, and you want to make sure that you get it. And then I put 20 points into Thaumaturge. It's going to increase my Velocious Curse. It's going to increase my Crystal Frags. And that's the reason why I put it in this tree right here, the Thaumaturge. Alright, and basically I just put a few points into most of them because the first few points always give you the most out of the points you get. But the 2 main things you want to make sure you get would be Spell Absorption, so you want to put 10 points at least into this tree, because it's going to restore 3,360 magic when you take Flame, Frost, Shock, Magic, Earth, or Oblivion damage equivalent to 30% of your maximum health. This can only occur once every 10 seconds. So you get your shield up, they hit you something huge, you get magic back for it once every 10 seconds. Amazing. And you want to put you want to put a bunch of points into this one. Increase the effectiveness of damage absorbing effects. There's your defensive ability, Hardened Ward. That's what that helps out. Alright guys, that's my build. I hope you guys like it. I will be coming out with a group PvP Sorcerer build here in the very near future. Alright, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, I don't know why you haven't, but go ahead and do that. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in Tamriel.